Hello and welcome back to the Sony PlayStation. Today we're playing Darkstalkers, but not just any old Darkstalkers game. This time we have Darkstalkers 3. Yes, they actually used a 3 at one point. So this game, this is just Vampire Savior, but now we're not necessarily restricted by the limitations of the arcade. Which means the characters that were removed from Vampire Savior are back. We're not going to be using any of these characters here. Instead, we're going to be picking a character that is often neglected in this universe. DF change means Dark Force works just like it does in Vampire Savior, but DF power was a system change added to Savior 2 and Hunter 2. I'm just going to be using DF change because we're obviously more familiar with that system. So this version is more like Darkstalkers 3 Special. It's only this version, I believe, that is called Darkstalkers 3. As you can tell by his Senko's movements, how she's not bobbing her head as much. While you're not confined by the memory limitations of the arcade version, you are confined by the memory limitations of the PlayStation. This means less sprites, this means kind of muffled audio. The music's great. The music is CD quality. You're definitely getting what you asked for with that. But lack of animation can sometimes be death. Because the moves don't really look the way you think that they would look. So arcade patrons would get thrown off. And this would be common throughout home console releases of the time. It's about a 95% authentic arcade port. But that does it for the observations of the PlayStation version itself. Let's talk about the character. QB. You don't see many buzzards in fighting games. B characters were not that common, at least for another decade. This is the unique thing about this franchise. Yeah, you had your typical monsters, you had your Frankenstein's monster, you had your werewolf, you had your vampires. These? It was a bit of an odd choice for a little monster movie mash, but Capcom made it work, for a couple of reasons. For one, QB as a visual character brings new meaning to the words, "My eyes are up here." If you'll notice, the eyes on her face are not really her eyes. They're decoration meant to throw you off. The way she's crouched down circles in her hair, those are actually her eyes. Yeah, I'm gonna be diving a lot, because this move, really good against the AI. She has some unique moves, all her own. She can call the Hive on you. And she can send a little ball of honey your way. If it hits an opponent on the ground, the ball of honey actually immobilizes them. So if you can tell from top to bottom, QB, very unique character in fighting games. So you figured first impressions, she's kind of this Cammy. Like, good normals. You get long-range attacks. Not really to the extent of Dalsim, but she has footsies to where she can take care of herself. But then she does this. She has this command grab. And any bee worth their patterns, whenever they get their stinger in someone, afterwards that stinger breaks off and they die. What you have witnessed with QB is essentially the art of reproduction. She falls over, a neat QB hatches from the egg, and hey, we're still fighting. This little Felicia cat. Felicia's another character that sort of suffers from lack of animation, but it's mostly in intros and standing. Everything else, you're sort of good to go. So am I, actually. The best way to describe QB's style, because it's so unique, is... what if Adon suddenly became the queen bee? Because you're doing a lot of... diving jaguar kicks. So if you like that unorthodox mobility... alright. This is what you deal with. This is the equipment QB promises of you. It's at this point where the AI actually manages to give a damn, so... that's a bad decision. I thought I could catch her, but she's too low to the ground. Alright. That actually works out for me, because I get to show this off. This is especially good for the console version. You get to stay with your same character, much like the arcade version, but it forgoes loading up the character select screen, so it especially benefits the PlayStation version. Which, of course, you're on PlayStation, of course there's going to be loading. Alright. It is kind of awkward to do the Magic Series with QB because her standing and jumping fierce buttons are a hornet's nest. Yes, really. So I could just activate Dark Force and be flying around all day, sending these things out. It's not the best thing to be spamming, just because while they're active and they whip, you're just kind of sitting there. And you don't want to be just sitting there in a game like Vampire Savior. But it's still there. Ow. Got you back, Dashin. That standing forward is so useful. Just a really good anti-air in general. Alright. Oh, I don't want you with your hands on Valkyrie turn. No. Ooh, caught her in the air with the Oh, I am not sorry for that. Oh, I really should have killed. Whatever, a win's a win. Screw you, I'm not here to impress you, virtual audience. The QB's got a bit of a story to her. Jetta kind of sent her out into the world to collect souls. You know how bees have, like, this affinity towards honey? Same deal here, except souls. So now Jetta's like, great, you've done your job. Let me feast on them souls for a bit. So Jetta is still Jetta. He is all about spacing, he's all about movement. He's all about catching you unawares with setups and putting you exactly where he wants to. We're not going to let that concern us right now. The neat thing about that dive is you can set it up in the air. Alright. Wasn't able to straight him, but... Alright. Kind of losing momentum here. Yeah, I don't want to get grabbed there. Alright! That is Darkstalkers 3 for the PlayStation. Done. Darkstalkers 3 asking the most important questions. Can you get so obsessed with hunting down soul energy that you eventually run out of soul energy? What do you do from there? Especially when this production leads to an overabundance of reproduction. How do you cope? It's probably not important. I'm sure that I, for one, welcome our bee-based overlords.